What is going on, everyone? Hopefully you guys are all having a great day. In today's video, I'll be going over how the matchmaking system works in Apex Legends, and hopefully by the end of this video, you'll know a little bit more about how the game determines what matches you get put into. Any subscriber of this channel would know that I'm pretty obsessed with the skill-based matchmaking algorithm in Apex Legends. For a long time, I have been studying and experimenting with it, and after a little over 2 years of tests in Apex Legends, as well as a little bit of research, I want to share what I have found regarding how skill-based matchmaking works in Apex Legends. But I also want to share exactly what type of algorithms that I believe that they are using. But before I go over all of that, definitely make sure to watch through the whole video because I'm going to try my best to explain the situation in a way so you can build your own opinion on the topic. And I also want to make it super clear that during this video, I'm not trying to diss or throw shade at anyone. So with that being said, hopefully the comment section is just a little more tame now. And with that being out of the way, let's get right into today's video. For starters, I always say in my videos that Apex Legends has skill-based matchmaking, which is 100% true. But the main reason I say this is because it is a good but broad term. Everybody can understand what skill-based matchmaking means. However, narrowing it down, Apex is on a matchmaking system closer to a EOMM algorithm or engagement optimized matchmaking. One could say that an SBMM and an EOMM is like saying tomato tomato. These systems relatively do the exact same thing, or at least basically define the same process. However, it has not been confirmed by any Apex Legends dev that EOMM is in any public matches. However, it has been confirmed to be in arenas. And a EOMM algorithm was recently developed by EA, and as quite a few of you may know, EA is Respawn's parent company. And they recently just filed a patent for this system, and it is presumed to be patent pending. Now, we don't know if this system is specifically for Apex Legends. Apex Legends is definitely one of their biggest games, so that is something to keep in mind. Now, getting back on track, looking closer at what an engagement optimized matchmaking system would look like, or EOMM for short, it basically means that you're queuing into a game where your opponents are going to have not only the same skill level as you, but also the same playstyle and engagement tactics as you would. So when looking at this matchmaking system, it would seem like it is a very advanced system that would be taking a really close look at every player's account data and stats. Now, putting all of that aside and getting back to what we know about Apex Legends and its skill-based matchmaking in particular. Now, we know that in public matches where SBMM is being used, this system does end up turning your regular matches into ranked matches. The only real difference here is that in ranked, you're playing the game and you're putting self into those higher ranks, and you could see what rank you are. And you can see in those matches that you're going up against players who are in the same rank as you are. But in regular matches, the game is the one putting you into quote-unquote higher ranks. Funny enough, the only difference between regular Battle Royale matches and your regular ranked matches, that in pubs, you cannot see the rank that the game has given you. But of course, in ranked matches, you can see the rank that you have and that the game has given you. So really, for any player playing Apex Legends, you don't really have any control where the game puts you. Now let's talk about what we have actually seen in Apex Legends. We obviously know that there is skill-based matchmaking in Apex Legends, but the question right now is, how do you see it and how do you know it's in the game? One example can be, if you have played Apex Legends for long enough, you may have noticed certain patterns in your matches. For example, you might struggle through 5 matches and then get one really easy match and so on. Or if you really want to find out for yourself, there is kind of a neat test you can do to see how the skill-based matchmaking system works in Apex Legends. For example, if you go into a game and die off the bat immediately 5 times in a row, then on your 6th match, you go into a match and you play it like normal, you will almost usually find that on that 6th match, it is unusually easy. And that does confirm that there is some sort of matchmaking algorithm at play. If there wasn't a system and all the matches were randomized, this result would not likely be the case. Now, diving into specifics about how the matchmaking works in Apex. For a very long time, it has been speculated that there is some sort of lottery-based matchmaking. And basically what this means in layman's terms is for every 10 matches that you play in Apex, you're only supposed to win 1 match. So the game will knowingly give you 10 matches that it thinks you can't win, and then give you 1 game that it thinks you will win. And what this process is supposed to do is keep you engaged as a player, making you think you have another chance of winning a match eventually, so you keep grinding and playing Apex. So the question of, is this in Apex Legends, isn't exactly a yes or no answer, but this is what I have found. Personally, I have found that no, there is not an exact algorithm at play making it so you only win so many matches. If this was true, you wouldn't be able to trick the skill-based matchmaking system, and you wouldn't also be able to conduct the test that I mentioned earlier. However, I do think that it feels like there is some sort of lottery-based matchmaking, and this is because it's probably a byproduct of what the matchmaking system in Apex Legends is already trying to do. Now let me explain. After numerous tests, I found that the matchmaking in Apex Legends is very aggressive. If you happen to be a low-level new player in Apex Legends and you're going up against other players like that, and you happen just to have one very good game, maybe a couple kills and a win, when you play your next match, you're not going to find yourself playing up against new players or even skilled new players. No, you're going to find yourself going up against players who happen to be well above your skill level, players who have way more experience at the game than you. And this example really applies to every player that plays Apex Legends. Now you can't argue that the player in this example is exactly right where they need to be. They'll be going up against opponents who will be giving them a challenge, and that player should be able to grow and improve in Apex. However, if the SBMM system wasn't as volatile in this game, this would actually be the case. It wouldn't be bad for that player to have a little bit of a challenge. But what actually happens to players in this scenario is they get sent into super hard lobbies that are unplayable. In these lobbies, you cannot grow as a player because you're either getting eliminated as soon as you land, or you land alone and you spend 10 minutes looting up just to be steamrolled the second you encounter another player or enemy team. And now you find yourself playing 10 matches in these awful lobbies just for the game to eventually realize that you need easy lobbies because you haven't been doing so good in your previous matches. So now you finally get into super easy lobbies where you have another good game, but since the matchmaking system finally dropped you down, after this game, you're gonna find yourself back in the extremely hard lobbies again, and now you can kind of see where the cycle starts to repeat itself. However, I have found another factor at play, which is putting the matchmaking system on overdrive. In this game, there is a little thing called smurfing, and it's done widespread in Apex. If you don't know, smurfing is when someone creates a new account to play the game with. In Apex, you primarily smurf to get a fresh account that has no skill-based matchmaking rank tied to it. So for your first couple matches on this new account, you'll be matched up against other new players and other smurfs. And this isn't just an Apex problem, smurfing is done in a ton of different games. Apex just happens to be the game where this is done a lot more frequently than others. And players who are somewhat rightfully angry at their matchmaking experience turn to this because they won't have to go through the pain and dread of suffering through hours of matches just to get a good and playable one. Now in itself, smurfing can be harmful to the game's ecosystem. You have skilled players going up against brand new players who are just learning the basics, but paired with what I'm about to tell you, it kind of makes the situation a little bit worse. I do think that Respawn have tried to implement a special algorithm in Apex to detect smurfs and send them into higher skilled lobbies, and this is where we can start to see some other problems. If the game sees a smurf account have a good game, next game it will send that account up against average skilled players and so on. But I have found that the game's matchmaking system has no way of really telling the difference between that and a new player who has had a good game but is also still learning the basics. And that player as well will be sent up against higher skilled players. So it would seem by the devs trying to fix a pretty wide scale issue, they ended up causing another issue by sending new players into the incorrect lobbies. So bringing it full circle, a matchmaking system like this in a game that runs fine might be just great. But something like this system in a game like Apex, where there's a ton of glitches and bugs and every server is made out of scotch tape and popsicle sticks, you can really start to get the picture of why an advanced skill-based matchmaking system that isn't working properly in a game like Apex is kind of an issue. Now before I really bring this video to a close, I really want to go over briefly why Apex Legends has skill-based matchmaking in the first place. There are some well-known games like Destiny 2, which I'm sure some of you have heard of. its PvP scene started out with skill-based matchmaking, and a lot of players complained about it, so the devs actually got rid of it. 4 years after that decision, players would get into randomized matches with low, medium, and high skill players all playing against each other. Except for competitive ranked matches, of course, which you can start to pick out the pros and cons of having a system like this. And even though they recently added a very soft matchmaking update, so you basically don't have new players going up against actual pro players, the matchmaking system in regular Destiny 2 matches are still for the most part very random. The matchmaking system in regular Destiny 2 matches are still for the most part very random. Now these games are very different. In Destiny, you grind through PvE to get good weapons and armor for PvP matches. And their PvP matches are a lot like arenas. And you are bringing your own gear into the match. So some players can go into a match with better weapons than others. But in Apex, everyone typically has a fair chance because every player starts the match off with basically nothing. It's a battle royale. But as far as skill-based matchmaking intentions go for each game, they are relatively the same. Skill-based matchmaking was actually added into Apex to protect the new players and casuals, if you can believe it. They didn't want new players going up against long-time skilled veterans of the game. However, recently, as many players know, it does not feel like this is the case while they're playing their normal matches. It does look like what was added to avoid a problem of pinning the wrong players against each other actually caused the problem. The only real truth about skill-based matchmaking in Apex Legends is that it definitely needs some fixes, some tweaks, and some good old-fashioned TLC. I know I didn't cover arenas in this video, but to be honest, my arenas matches are just as odd as my normal battle royale matches. But what do you think? Should skill-based matchmaking be kept in Apex, but only if it got some much needed fixes? Or do you think it should be gotten rid of altogether and all Apex matches be randomized? Feel free to let me know down in the comments below, or add any other suggestions, or even point out any things I missed. Again, I do want to emphasize that this video was not meant to diss on the developers or players or just anyone in general. I just wanted to make a video going over what I found after playing this game for so long, and just really educate you all, the players, on how the matchmaking system works. And with all of that being said, thank you guys all so much for watching this video. Definitely consider subscribing if you want to see more content like this. Have a great rest of your day, everyone, and I'll see you all around later. Bye, guys.